All right, let's dive into the world of DIY with this book, Made by Dad, 67 Blueprints for Making Cool Stuff.
Sounds fun.
I think everyone listening has probably thought about making something awesome, whether it's with their kids or just for themselves.
For sure.
And this book is all about using things you can find around the house.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like cardboard boxes, paper cups, even old felt tip markers.
Wow. I wouldn't have thought to use those.
It's really amazing what you can do with a little creativity.
Right. It's not just about giving you step-by-step instructions.
No, it's more than that.
It's about encouraging you to think outside the box.
Exactly. Like, see the potential in everyday objects.
To look around your house and think, hey, I can make something cool with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of these projects are so imaginative.
Which one caught your eye?
Well, the Godzilla skyline really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah.
You basically turn your window into a monster movie scene.
Oh.
Just using black cardstock.
That's so cool.
And then there's the twisted pen caddy, where you actually melt down felt tip markers.
Melt them down.
Yeah, with a blowtorch.
A blowtorch.
I know it sounds a bit crazy, but the book is really clear about safety precautions.
Okay, good to know.
Plus, it's just such a unique way to use a blowtorch.
Yeah, I guess you don't usually associate blowtorches with crafting.
Definitely not. But that's what I love about this book.
It pushes the boundaries a bit.
It does, and it's not all just about aesthetics either.
What do you mean?
There's this project called the Steampunk Balancing Robot.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
It uses, like, a toilet paper tube and cardstock,
Okay.
but it also demonstrates this scientific principle,
Oh, which one?
center of gravity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So it's educational, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the Snappy Toast Rack.
Okay, what's that one about?
It's made from just the paper coffee cup.
Wow. Really?
Super simple, but so clever.
So we've got Godzilla, a robot, a toast rack.
Yeah, it's a really diverse collection of projects.
Yeah. What's the overall, message of the book, you think?
To me, it's about more than just following instructions.
Okay.
It's about learning to think creatively
Right.
and adapt the projects to fit your own, style and materials.
So it's not just about copying what's in the book.
No, not at all.
It's about using it as inspiration
That's a great way to put it.
and then making it your own.
Exactly. And the tone of the book is really fun, too.
Oh, yeah. What's it like?
It's playful, it's humorous, clearly written for both kids and adults.
So it doesn't take itself too seriously.
No, which I really appreciate.
Right.
It makes the whole DIY thing feel less intimidating.
Makes it more approachable.
Definitely.
It's like an invitation to just have fun and experiment.
And it's not just about the fun, either.
Oh, there's more.
It's also practical.
Okay. How so?
There's this whole section called Dad's Toolbox.
Interesting.
It breaks down, common materials and tools.
Like a DIY crash course?
Kind of. And it's full of these clever tips. Oh, can you give us an example?
Yeah. Like using a strip of paper as a ruler for a cardboard tube.
Oh, that's a good one.
I know, right?
This is
It's
good.
so simple, but so helpful.
It's so resourceful.
And of course, safety is super important.
Yeah, especially with kids around.
Exactly. Especially when you're using, craft knives or, the blowtorch.
Oh, yeah, the
The
blowtorch.
book is really thorough about safety precautions.
So you feel confident that you can do these projects safely.
Absolutely.
That's good to know.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the projects.
Yeah, the Godzilla, the robot, the toast rack,
And the overall approach of the book.
the resourcefulness, the creativity.
But I think it would be fun to, delve a little deeper.
You mean into specific projects?
Yeah.
Like what makes them so special?
That sounds good. Where should we start?
Well, let's start with that Godzilla skyline.
All right, the one with the black card stock.
Yeah, it's so visually striking,
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
And the fact that it uses such simple materials.
Makes it even more impressive.
Right. It's just black cardstock and mounting putty.
Wow.
It really underscores that message of resourcefulness.
But you don't need fancy stuff to make something awesome.
Exactly.
So what else is cool about the Godzilla skyline?
Well, it's really open to personalization.
Oh, in what way?
Like you can add helicopters, cracks in the buildings, whatever you want.
So it's not just about following the instructions exactly.
No, it's about making it your own.
You can let your imagination run wild.
Yeah, it's a great way to get kids involved, too.
It's a project you can really do together.
Absolutely. Okay, now how about that twisted pen caddy?
The one with the blowtorch.
Yeah, I'm still fascinated by the whole blowtorch thing.
It's pretty unique.
It really is. It's like, who would have thought to use a blowtorch in a craft project?
It's definitely not your typical crafting tool.
But it's such a cool example of thinking outside the box.
Yeah, it shows you can use everyday items in unexpected ways.
Exactly. And the melting process itself is really cool to watch.
Oh, yeah, it must be mesmerizing.
It is. It's like watching art come to life, you know?
Ah, I can imagine.
Okay, let's move on to the steampunk balancing robot.
Oh, yeah, the one that teaches you about center of gravity.
That's the one. I love how it combines such simple materials.
Like the toilet paper tube and cardstock.
Yeah, with this fundamental scientific principle.
Makes it educational and fun.
Right. And the fact that the robot actually balances.
It makes the concept of center of gravity really tangible.
Yeah, it's not just an abstract idea anymore.
It's something you can see and experience firsthand.
Exactly. It's a great reminder that learning can be fun.
Especially when you're making something cool at the same time.
And finally, let's revisit the snappy toast rack.
The one made from the coffee cup.
Yes. It's so simple, yet so brilliant.
It shows that you can find inspiration anywhere.
Right. Even in something as ordinary as a paper cup.
It's about seeing the potential in everyday objects.
And transforming them into something fun and functional.
It's amazing what you can do with a little creativity.
Exactly. And that's what makes this book so inspiring.
It empowers you to find creativity in the most unexpected places.
And it reminds you that you don't need a lot of fancy stuff to make something amazing.
Just some imagination and a willingness to experiment.
Well said. So we've talked about a few of the standout projects.
The Godzilla, the robot, the pen caddy, the toast rack.
But keep in mind there are so many more in the book.
Give us a sense of the variety.
Oh, there are projects for home decor, toys, games, science fair projects. You name it.
So there's something for everyone.
Absolutely. It's a treasure trove of DIY inspiration.
And it's all about using readily available materials, right?
Yes. It's about being resourceful, being creative, and most importantly, having fun.
That's what it's all about.
And it shows that you don't need a fancy workshop or expensive supplies.
You can create something amazing with what you already have.
Exactly. It's a celebration of the DIY spirit.
And a reminder that creativity can be found anywhere.
Wonderful. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
We've got a good overview of the book.
But there's still more to explore.
Like what?
Well, next time, we'll delve into some of the specific techniques and tips that Made by Dad has to offer.
That sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Okay, so we talked about what Made by Dad is all about, like the philosophy behind it.
Yeah, and we touched on some of the projects.
But what really struck me is how practical the book is.
Oh, totally. It's not just about, showing off cool ideas.
No, it actually teaches you how to do things.
Yeah, it breaks down the steps and techniques.
Exactly. It's like you see a finished project,
Yeah.
and you're like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But then you're like, but how did they actually make that?
Right.
And Made by Dad actually answers that question.
It does. Remember that tip about drawing straight lines?
On round surface.
Yeah. That's so helpful when you're working with cardboard tubes.
Oh, tell me about it. I can never cut those things straight.
It's so frustrating.
But the book has this, super simple solution.
The paper ruler trick.
Yeah. You just wrap a strip of paper around the tube.
And then you mark the overlap, and boom.
You've got a perfectly straight line.
It's so clever.
It is. It's like, why didn't I think of that?
And it's such a good example of that, resourcefulness.
That Made by Dad is all about.
Exactly. Using what you have, thinking outside the box.
And speaking of resourcefulness,
yeah.
There's that whole section, Dad's Toolbox.
Oh, yeah. It's not just, a list of tools, though.
No, it's full of these amazing hacks.
Really little tips and tricks that can make a huge difference.
Remember that one about using a coin?
To smooth out the edges of cut cardboard?
Yes. Genius.
It is. And then, using a clothespin to hold pieces together while the glue dries?
It's all about, working smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about tools either.
What do you mean?
It's about adapting the designs themselves.
Oh, right. The book encourages you to experiment.
To try different materials, colors, embellishments.
Yeah, to really make the projects your own.
It's about expressing your own creativity.
And not being afraid to deviate from the instructions.
Exactly. Because sometimes the best ideas come from those little detours.
And even though the book encourages that experimentation, it's still very clear about safety.
Oh, of course. Safety first.
Always.
Yeah.
Especially when you're using, craft knives, scissors.
Or, the blowtorch.
The blowtorch. The book really emphasizes being careful.
It lays out all the safety guidelines.
So you can feel confident.
That you're doing things the right way.
Exactly. And I appreciate that it doesn't, like, lecture you about safety.
No, it's more like encouraging.
Yeah, it's like, have fun, but be smart.
It's a good balance.
It is. Okay, now, besides the practical tips and the safety stuff,
Yeah.
Made by Dad also has some really helpful drawing and coloring techniques.
Oh, that's cool. Like what?
Well, it covers things like, sketching outlines,
Okay.
adding details, creating a 3D effect.
It's like a mini art lesson.
It is, which is great for people who might not be, like, super artistic.
But they still want to make their projects look nice.
Exactly.
So it gives you the tools to do that.
And speaking of making things look nice,
Uh-huh.
the book really emphasizes personalization.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, like, it provides templates for some of the more complicated designs,
Yep.
but it also encourages you to add your own touches.
To make it your own.
Exactly. Like, with the Godzilla skyline,
Yeah.
you can draw your own Godzilla face or change the buildings.
That's cool.
It's about going beyond just following instructions.
And really expressing your own creativity. I
Yes.
think that's so important, especially for kids.
Oh, absolutely. It lets them, like, develop their own style.
And take pride in their work.
And sometimes those, like, little mistakes or deviations from the plan,
Yeah.
they end up being the best parts.
They add character.
They do. Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to mention.
What's that?
The whole concept of mommy points.
Oh, yeah. That's hilarious.
It is. Basically, the book suggests making certain projects for mom
To earn brownie points.
to make up for the mess,
Good stuff for strategy.
It is because, let's be honest,
Yeah,
DIY projects can be a little messy.
they can.
So, making something nice for mom,
It's a good way to balance things out.
it is. Okay, so we've talked about some of the general techniques,
The tips, the safety guidelines.
but I think it's worth revisiting some of those specific projects.
You mean to see how these techniques are applied?
Exactly. Like, let's take the Godzilla skyline, for example.
Okay, what about it?
The book explains how to create that sense of depth.
Oh, with the buildings.
Yeah, by drawing them in perspective.
So it looks like Godzilla's actually there.
It's such a simple technique.
But it makes a huge difference.
It does. And then there's the steampunk balancing robot.
Okay, what does it say about that one?
It goes into detail about how the battery works as a counterbalance.
To keep the robot upright?
Exactly. And it explains it in a way that's easy to understand.
So you're not just building it, you're learning about it too.
Exactly. And then for the twisted pen caddy,
Yeah,
it really breaks down the whole melting process.
with the blowtorch.
Yeah, how to use it safely and effectively.
To get that cool, twisted look.
It even suggests trying different colored markers.
Oh, that's a fun idea.
It is. And for the snappy toast rack,
Uh-huh.
it shows you how to make those little teeth shapes.
With a craft knife.
Yeah, and it stresses using a sharp one for clean cuts.
Makes sense.
And it's not just about the technical stuff either.
Oh.
Like with the snappy toast rack,
Yeah.
you could totally adapt the design.
To make other animal shapes.
Ooh, like a lion or a monkey.
Exactly.
That would be so cute.
It's all about seeing the potential
For variation and adaptation.
and letting your imagination run wild.
So, Made by Dad really does empower you to go beyond the original designs.
It does. It's all about creativity, resourcefulness, fun.
It shows you that you don't need fancy stuff to make something awesome.
And it reminds us that creativity can be found anywhere.
I love that.
Me too. It's a great message.
It is. So we've talked about the techniques, the inspiration.
And how those are applied in the specific projects.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
But there's one big idea we haven't really dug into yet.
Oh, really? What's that?
The power of adaptation.
Adaptation, huh? I'm intrigued. What do you mean by that?
Well, with Made by Dad, you know it's not about, like, sticking to the instructions rigidly.
Right.
It's more about using the projects as a jumping off point.
I see. So taking the basic idea and then making it your own.
Exactly. And the book has some really great examples of this.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Well, there's this one project that uses old egg curtains.
Egg curtains. Okay, what do they make?
It's called, get this, Sitting on Eggshells.
Sitting on eggshells.
It's a wall display.
Really? Wow, I never would have thought to use egg cartons for that.
See? It's all about seeing the potential in unexpected places.
I love that. Any other examples?
Yeah, there's the Trashy Lights project.
Okay, trashy lights. What's that one about?
They take a wire wastepaper basket
Okay.
and they turn it into a light fixture.
What? How do they do that?
They use colored tissue paper and LED lights.
Wow. So you really are turning trash into treasure.
Exactly. It's so creative.
And it shows that you can make something beautiful out of anything.
And that's what Made by Dad is all about, right?
Yeah, it's about resourcefulness. It's about imagination.
And that idea of adaptation, it goes beyond just the materials.
Oh, you mean like adapting the actual designs too?
Exactly. Like, there's this project called Titanic bookshelf art.
Okay, I remember that one. With the ship hitting the iceberg?
Yeah, but the book says you don't have to just do the Titanic.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So what else could you do?
Well, they suggest, like, maybe a pirate ship battling a kraken.
Oh, cool.
Or even a spaceship flying through an asteroid field.
Wow, so you can really let your imagination run wild.
Exactly. It's all about taking the basic concept and then making it your own.
And that ties back to what we talked about before, right?
About creative problem solving and thinking outside the box.
It's like Made by Dad is giving you the tools to be a maker.
Yeah. Not just to follow instructions, but to create.
To come up with your own ideas.
Exactly. And it shows you that you don't need a fancy workshop or tons of supplies.
It's about using what you have and being creative.
And most importantly, having fun.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Made by Dad,
Yeah.
I want to leave everyone listening with a challenge.
Ooh, a challenge. Okay.
Think about something in your house, something you might consider useless.
Okay. Like what?
Maybe it's an empty cereal box or a pile of old buttons, a broken toy, anything.
Got it.
Now look at that thing and ask yourself, what could I make with this?
Don't just see it as trash. See it as potential.
Exactly. Because as Made by Dad shows us, anything is possible with a little imagination.
It's about seeing the world as full of creative opportunities.
And then having the confidence to go out there and make something amazing.
So go forth and create.
Absolutely. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It was fun.